and welcome to Michael and Ivanka's grand podcast, and Ivanka's disappeared. So we're trying a new technology, and it's being very strange. I don't know why. I haven't quite figured out how it works yet. But so we don't have our overlays. That's fine. This is a weekly podcast where we figure out what we think about stuff, and it's going to be a relatively relaxed chat this week. And yeah, we just figure out what we think. My name's Michael Forrest.
And I'm Ivanka Majic.
And this week we're going to talk about, what was it again? Building a community. We're going to try and figure out. Because Ivanka's been working on, what's your community that you're thinking about?
I've been working out how on this Croatian island to build a community around beach cleaning. Or, build some community, find some like-minded people. So my two current ideas are beach cleaning gang with the cleaning teddy bears, or working out how to do a local sort of stitch and bitch type thing. Okay. So I found two other projects to hook into.
Okay.
Rather than starting from scratch.
So yours is like a real world.
In real life. That's the main thing. Yeah.
Okay. And then I'm sort of like, I've been working a bit on so I've got my Squares TV platform, which I would like there to be. I've been trying to sort of build up a Discord and just sort of learning ways that, figuring out how to attract people to my own little community, and just some things I've learned and some things I need to figure out, and we'll just have a little chat about it and just see what our understanding of human nature yields from this conversation. So right, I'm gonna press the next one. Oh look, now there's an overlay, and then I need to go. There's supposed to be a button here. Very professional. Don't say anything. Alright, audio will be fine. Video was a bit weird then, because I'd set it up on. So I got this Ecamm Live thing, and we're using interview mode. We're trying it out for the first time, but usually there's buttons, and the buttons have gone. I don't know what to do about it. So what happens next in the podcast? I'm so confused.
Generally, you ask me how I am.
Yeah. How's it going? You see, all my muscle memory's gone to hell. How's it going, Ivanka?
I've had a bit of a week, I'd say. A week of good things, like I've had a friend turn up from Alaska who's brought a friend with her, so we now have two friends in Alaska. Yeah. And this is a lady that we met on our travels, and it's nice to see her. She's a good house guest. She probably listens to the podcast, so I'll be complimentary. That's anything bad. So that's been nice, and it's a good opportunity for the child to look at maps and ask people if they've seen a bear. So that's been nice. My mum's here, but she's probably here last week, so I probably already told you that. Found a personal trainer. Nick and I went together to a personal trainer, which was good. Because it's a good workout, and it's nice to work out with somebody else who then makes you do a bit more. I would, if it's Nick and me negotiating exercise, I do occasionally tell him to stick it up his jumper whilst I go and sit down and make myself a cup of tea. But when one has decided to go to a personal trainer, then there's kind of an incentive to try harder. It was nice and reassuring to be told that we were in pretty good nick, which that's always nice, because he was kind of doing that assessing us thing and deciding how far he could push us. Do ache a bit, but not excessively. But I felt good, and so yes, that was very good. And then I had a couple of work type things that were unplanned, unplanned, unpleasant, and therefore took negative energy in a week where I hadn't really I had no moment for these kind of interruptions planned in. So other things had to suffer. I taught a course this week, Tuesday evening. I taught for Content Design London. I did a user research session for them, which I hope well, but sometimes it's a bit hard to tell with these things. I tried much harder than last time I did it to stick to some sort of timings. So at least I got through all the exercises I'd planned to get through. Whereas last year when I did it, or last time when I did it, we had a great time, but I'm not sure I got through to everything. But they're doing an interesting project for the Royal National Institute for the Deaf. And it's always interesting to look at a audience that you've not really, or look into someone's life that you've not really looked into before. So anyway, it's been a mixed bag of a week, really. How's your week?
My week. I mean, I also did a thing on Wednesday afternoon that took it out of me, which was I did this live stream with Adrian Salisbury, who does this Ecamm Academy. So that's how I've managed to wrangle this Ecamm Live subscription. But yeah, I just talked about my app it was sort of scheduled for half an hour. Like we ended up doing like 45 minutes in the end, and it wasn't a huge. It was like 30 odd people in there, but it was nice. It was a good conversation. I wanted to just be expansive, be charismatic as I could muster, and just try and do all those things. And I think it went very well, and lots of positivity from the chat. And even I didn't quite realise that one guy was trolling a bit, but still all these trolls, I was just like going, oh well, no, that's actually fine, and this isn't fine, this isn't the case, and this even like right to repair. He was like, oh, I think more than X amount of money for a phone is too much. I was like, oh no, actually, like you can actually reuse an old phone using my app and use it as a camera, even a broken one. So it's actually quite consistent with the goals of right to repair movement. So chill out, buddy. But yeah, that went well. But this guy's a pretty seasoned like online kind of content marketing person, so he had some sort of advice for me about like videos I could be making, and also just seeing the sorts of questions people had. And there was a moment that was like, can you ask him to slow down a bit, because I was going through all the controls really quickly, right. And just realizing, I really do need to remember that it's like I just need to point out things that are blindingly obvious to me, and that's actually going to help a lot of people, a lot more than making some grand complicated system, which I did also complete my big grand complicated system of showing rig diagrams this week as well, and sort of got that live. Squares TV, I'll sort of send an email out next week sort of telling people about that, and then hopefully the new video will come out in the next couple of weeks too, but I'm waiting for some stuff. But yeah, it's been basically yesterday was a complete write-off as a result of having all this input and all these ideas, and then just not being able to get to sleep, and then waking up again, and then more things coming through, and like not being able to get to sleep. And I just kind of like went downstairs, put like my YouTube video of some video game on that always sends me to sleep, and just had that on for the next like 3 or 4 hours, and just like dozed on and off. And then just yesterday went to just went out on my bike and had a coffee in the Science Museum, and just had a bit of a day, and just it's nice to be free. It's nice to just sort of like be able to do what I want. And I think, and Sharon felt like I should should celebrate that, and because she thought I did well as well, which I was happy about.
Well done. Congratulations, Michael.
So an intense week.
Yes.
But yeah, I feel like I'm making progress. Yeah. Go on.
I think that energy, putting energy into a conversation, like that running a training course for 2 hours or being interviewed by somebody, I think it's really easy to underestimate how much energy that takes. It's like I was totally exhausted on Wednesday after my Tuesday evening. I mean, mine was late in the evening as well, which is not ideal. But and I could tell that I'd put loads of energy in because I was bright red. Absolutely. I was like, I think, can you all see how red my face is? Yes. Well, I think that means we need a break. Was mine. Everyone indulged me with laughter.
Well, that's cool. Yeah. So we both had a bit of an intense Wednesday. Like mine was at 5 p.m. as well, so it was sort of in the evening as well. But so yeah, we both had a bit of an intense week. So if we're a bit like mildly distracted today, I hope people can forgive us a little bit, because we've been challenging ourselves, haven't we? Doing things. Let me play a clip, and for the first time, Ivanka will also see what it is. fun. I was able to have Ivanka see the random video footage today for the first time. So building a community.
Mm-hmm.
It's why?
Well,
It's the first question, isn't
that's
it?
a good question.
I always just come at
Well,
you. Here's a question, Ivanka.
here's a question.
Answer
Why
me this.
build a community?
Riddle me this.
In my motivation in this instance, I would say, is to create. What are you doing? You're distracting.
Sorry. I was writing why.
Why? No. In this case, my ulterior motive for all of this is to have conversations with people about climate change. There is no other motivation really, and I don't think I can do that unless I don't want to approach it with a hammer. I watched a nice or started watching something in the BBC about craftivism the other day, which made me think as well, because it's kind of like a kind and gentle way to talk about difficult subjects. So yes, that's why I want.
What's craftivism?
Craftivism is literally using handcraft, so embroidered thing, leaving bits of crochet in places that have a message, or some cross stitch, or just something that's nice to find. One of the what?
Yarn
A yarn
bombing.
bomb.
Sharon's a yarn
that kind of thing.
Sometimes.
And I think that's quite nice. And then one lady was making these, like, just to sort of raise awareness for going for smear tests. She made all these very pretty miniature knickers and left them in like places with a message. So it's kind of a something that's nice to look at, but unthreatening, I think, is the right word. So by organising, let's say, and I've spent I spent some time. There's no point trying to start things here, I think, in the summer, because everyone's very busy dealing with tourists and trying to make their living. But now, as autumn approaches, now is the time. And so I was thinking that, and also the thing about what my biggest thing is, I want multi-generational involvement.
Right.
I want everyone to come out and clean the beaches. I don't want it just to be people my age or people that older or younger. I'd like us all to do it. And I think in a community that this is, which is small and diverse in many ways. No, not diverse in terms of where they're from, but diverse in terms of education levels, in terms of age. It's got to be something inclusive that everyone can join in with. So I thought, the cleaning thing is something I do, but it's not everyone's cup of tea. And then I was looking, and I've been trying to work out how to translate stitch and bitch, which I think is quite a fun phrase. It's basically literally, you'll bring your craft and you sit there and you knit or you crochet or you sew, do whatever you do while having a chat. Okay. And so, it's just like a way of getting together, keeping each other company whilst doing your own thing.
Right.
And so I've been trying to work out how to translate that into Croatian. And then on how Facebook reads your mind, it showed me a group in Split called Ispleti I Reci, which isn't quite stitch and bitch, but it translates nicely. So I contacted the lady that organised that, and I was like, can I do one of these? Can I knit your poster? She said, for sure. So think I'm going to do one next Thursday is my plan. Okay. I know it's short notice, but I've got to try and work out how to promote it, you see. Yeah. Because this is not a stick it on something digital and everyone will find out. I'm going to have to go multi-platform, real world,
attract
online.
People to this thing.
Yeah.
It's one of those things. I think you've got to you need like the smallest possible thin end of a wedge to go. Like, I'm just thinking about the sort of thumbnail for our conversation on Wednesday with Adrian was like, the simplest way to use your phone as a camera, Ecamm Live, the simplest way. And it's like, I would never have come up with that title because I've got a million things I want to say to get people interested in what I'm doing, but actually, like, it's got to be like some stupid little thing that people are already looking for, that you can, in some legitimate way, kind of then, like, once the wedge is in and you've got the lead, they go, you sort of like go, oh right, oh, I've actually got to leave the house and go and do something, or whatever it is they've got to do. But you've got to sort of like speak to someone in the language that they're already kind of speaking,
Yeah.
such that they're like, oh, here is someone that knows about this. I should find out more, kind of thing.
Yeah.
That's some stuff
Yeah.
I've been learning about. That's pretty abstract, though.
Well, it's hard if you're wanting to have a conversation, because the tricky thing here for somebody that's moved to this community, there's no particular culture that exists to support people that have moved to the community. Like, half the village is related to the other half of the village. They've all lived here for generations. We will probably remain foreigners here, even if, like, my daughter's children and possibly even her children will still be classed as incomers, because this is an island and it's a small community. And so there's not really scope for integration. There's no invitation to integrate, but there is more than just us who have arrived. We are not the only people that have arrived into this community, and I think there are going to be more people, especially as with all this COVID changes and things, and more people potentially looking for a more rural life. A lot of people with tenuous links to a German family with no connection to the village has moved here this year in time to start school. So I need to feel part of this community, otherwise it's a very rootless and lonely place to live, basically, with or without your family. So going back, the highfalutin, I want to talk about climate change. I want to create some connection, otherwise I can't live here. I can't just be in a house and just not integrate. It doesn't feel
So
right.
do you feel like it might actually be more useful to target the other people that have moved in then, than to try and target the existing community? Or if you did target the existing community, you'd sort of have to really lean into your otherness and try and find a way for them to actually, like, give a shit about that, I guess.
Well, yeah, that's the thing. That's why I think this stitch and bitch might be a good idea, because it's going to be I am going to go after the local older the grannies.
Right.
I'm going to invite them to come and show me, or come, because part of the invitation is to show me what you know. And so, because I think if I do something, I think it's easier to just find like-minded new arrivals. But then
you create a bit of a ghetto and an out-group.
I don't want to be like, like everybody who ever bitches about immigrants or expats or any of those words bitches about the fact that they don't want to integrate, coming over here, bringing their habits and their cultures. And part of what I think my starting point really is, some of my habits and my culture are good habits, and I'm very happy to share them with you. But if you don't want them, that's cool as well. So I'd like you to get solar panels, and I'd like you to fix your clothes more, maybe, and pick up rubbish. But if you don't want to, I mean, it's up to you. But it has to be something that invites everybody. Otherwise, I'm just reinforcing a path that already exists.
Yeah. Okay.
That's how I feel about it. Which I think as well, going to what you said about, taking the time to point out things that are really obvious to you in terms of technology. It's like, if you just talk to people who are like you've not expanded your community. Or if you assume that everybody knows the stuff, you're not getting a wider audience.
Well, that's a bit of a sort of dichotomy to explore. Let me put a clip on, and maybe we can sort of have a think about that, because I'm definitely, like, one of the things that kept me up on Wednesday night was that exact thing. It's like I've been sort of thinking about people, trying to find my tribe of people that are already quite deep into a certain way of doing things, and I've had a bit of success with that. But then what I was seeing was, well, there's this other thing where you just say the blindingly obvious, and you can probably help a lot of people by doing that and being seen that way, and that's probably a better way to kind of find new people. But anyway, let me just put on the moon. Eyeballs.
Yeah, there's a little eye icon top left. It says,
Right.
have you not got that?
Well, I haven't got the web page, have I? I've just got the desktop. Anyway, this
Oh.
is Michael and Ivanka.
Hello, welcome
behind the
to
scenes,
Michael and Ivanka's
talking about
working.
We're doing it in a new way today, so I'm still a bit confused about this user interface, but it's nice because Ivanka can see the stuff that I'm showing. So in future, this is going to get so multimedia. It's such a multimedia production, I'm sure. But yeah, we were talking about that. Yeah, so my worry about kind of going for that you find there's sort of looking for your tribe and going, there's other people that are really into plugging things into other things, and it would be really cool if I could connect with more of that world. And that's sort of what I've started doing with my Discord and Squares TV and talking to people there. But I think you want to. It would be more lucrative, probably from a business perspective, for me if I could position myself as more of an expert in sort of streaming, and I could say, look, this is my camera app. Here is how you use manual controls in a camera app. Here's what ISO means. Here's what shutter speed does, and sort of focus in on those sort of tiny little microscopic details that I've almost forgotten are even a thing, because I worked on them ages ago and they've just become part of the way. It's these things that have become like part of who you are, and you don't know how to explain them anymore because you forget that that's even a thing that someone else might not know. But actually, the amount of value you can give to someone by pointing out that tiny little thing that is obvious to you can be immense. But they kind of have to be looking for it. You have to be sort of like, I guess and to sort of think about it in terms of the community you're trying to reach. It's like, what is some little problem that local people are having that is the thin end of the where your consciousness has arrived to at this point in time, right?
But I think that's just it. I don't know. I need the shared problem. I don't know what it is. And so basically the two communities that I'm thinking of trying to start are the ones that I will help me find out. Right. Because I think unless you have the shared problem, like, I don't know, maybe loneliness is the shared problem in wintertime, and therefore having a stitch and bitch group or a rubbish pickup group is all that we need. But maybe the problem is, I don't know, the lack of capital to install solar panels, let's say. So maybe there's some kind of grant we can all work on getting together. Maybe there's some way we can create a community. I don't know. But unless I talk to people, I'm not going to know. Yeah.
And that's definitely, step one is going and talking to people, and no one needs to tell Ivanka Majic that you've got to find a way to kind of have those conversations. That's very much like something I'm trying to do and get ideas from. But what I was thinking was, it's almost like you want to, because you've said stuff about like the effects of climate change are more obvious where you are.
Yes.
Because like, I can't remember the specifics, but like in terms of farming, in terms of, I don't know.
Yeah,
like,
I think if you're in a rural community, like here, the olive harvest this year is going to be dramatically affected by the lack of water. This year there hasn't been rain, so
it's like, do you just go olive harvest problems support group, or I don't know, like, do you literally just kind of go straight to the question that they're all feeling that, and then once they're all in a room you go, okay, well, this is actually part of a much bigger problem, and the solar panels are part of this, and X, Y, and Z are all part of this, and start, do you broaden it out that way? But if you can, if there's a lot of local people having olive problems, then maybe it's like, okay, well, let's start by talking about olive problems.
Yep. Except that I don't have olive problems, and who am I to come here and talk to them about olives when I've never had olives? Well, you don't know our island. Where you've come from? What do you know about olives? So
I think you can learn a bit, though. You
can ask.
You don't have to be the all-encompassing expert, but you can talk to people about it, and like. Yeah. But
I think for me, the thing that makes me go, so yes, I think the olive harvest and the awareness of social of climate change is there to some extent, but the awareness that there are other ways of doing things, or there might be different ways. Like, there's a lot of myth that has taken hold here, I think, especially with things like, I'll take solar panels because I still haven't got mine in production,
Right.
which is infuriating because I can't talk about it as a success story yet because I am still pushing down the door. So I can understand their frustration. But the first thing, everybody without exception, whether they've lived abroad or local, when I say I'm installing solar panels, they go, oh, it's just not worth it. You're never going to make your money back. That is without exception what everybody says. And so I need more than a. So what I tend to do when I go something climate and people go, well, it's not, there's no point. Or when people say, often I find that when you talk about the bigger problems of life, people do that. Well, it'll sort itself out. It will be okay. I think unless you've got a story you can talk about, you can just go, well, maybe it will be okay, but I'm going to install my solar panels. But I want the success story. I want the look, this is how much my electricity bill is now. Look, and I'm doing something, because an electricity bill is definitely a shared problem that wants to be. But I need to smash that the myth that you can't do anything. I ain't no Greta Thunberg, but if you think about what she did, or those people that lead, they just, I am inspired by people like that. I am not one of them, and but like what she did, instead of going, well, nothing's going to get better, it's okay, maybe it won't, but I'm still going to go and sit outside Swedish Parliament with a sign every Friday and strike from school. And I think having I'm trying to work out what it is that I can do in this little community, and I'm not quite there. I think I'm rambling, but that's
but what I'm sort of picking up from this is because it's some stuff that I've heard talked about on like all these like digital marketing podcasts, and people feel like, oh well, I can't talk about this because I'm not an expert. And then the first thing that is said to that is like, well, yeah, everyone's got this imposter syndrome, but you just have to be interested in it and talk to people that know about it, and then but like, we're not necessarily talking about you starting a podcast or starting a digital something or other, but but I think like I also feel like you don't, like, it could just be a complaining session, You don't have to have the answers, and actually, like, you could do a talk. It's like it doesn't have to be my beautiful success story of installing solar panels and saving this much on my bill. You could say, here are the things that I have chipped away at. I managed to. Here's how I got this far, level 2, level 3, and most people would be like, people will enjoy the fact that, Christ, that sounds like a nightmare, and I never want to have to go through that. But you can sort of, maybe one person is like, oh, right, so she's actually made a bit of headway on this. Maybe I can try the next step. And we can be in it together, rather than you kind of like going, everybody do what I did. I have fixed the entire problem on my own as an individual. I am a genius, like Jesus, kind of thing. So I think like, sort of I'm sort of like pitching you stuff that I'm hearing, not stuff that I'm necessarily in any way capable of doing myself. But like this, if you're sort of like, it's an empathetic whinging relationship might actually be more magnetic than, oh, this person knows it all, kind of relationship.
I think I'm looking for, because I started, Nick always says, I think the reason, so the rubbish one is a problem solving. The knitting one, the handicraft one, to me feels like an opportunity just to sit together going, so what do you do with your recycling? Because I'm new to the art. Can you tell me, what do you do about your olives? How are you watering them? Oh, I read that, so it's more, I feel like this is an excuse, like it's an excuse to get together and have conversations, much more so than going, hey, everybody, join me in my rubbish pickups. Because so I think the knitting is much more of an invitation to talk than the picking up rubbish.
Yeah, definitely.
So I feel like that's
all it is. That's the only action you have to take, and then things start growing from that, just based on who you are as a person. Like, let's clip it. Let's clip time. to think about, I thought like in terms of building community, you want to sort of, I guess, find a local connection and actually get people thinking about what you care about. What's my reason?
You want to, well, do you want more people to find out about your app so that they can download it and buy it?
Well, if that's all I was doing, then this would be a really bad way of doing that, I think.
Well, I don't know because how are you going to find those people?
Well, if my community was, so here's like the sort of the community so far is like what I've kind of settled on is like live rigs, and maybe there can be like beginners to that, but I sort of feel like if I wanted to just sell my app, I probably would just limit it to like, because I feel like the reason I want to meet more people that are interested in nerdy stuff and probably music and probably like, but I think this digital stuff, this marketing stuff is quite interesting as well, because you get a lot of people doing their very specific niche things, and there was a lot of people on Wednesday talking about their crafts pages, but another guy was like a finance advisor, and a lot of people have managed to quit their jobs, and it's almost like the post-capitalist sort of revolution a little bit. It's a way that the internet is allowing more people to kind of escape from the grind, and a lot of that's been accelerated by the sort of COVID inequality thing that's happened, where like random people have ended up without jobs. But that was a that was a tangent. But it's like there's this thing where I think Beardy Man did this video. There's things I want, and then there's value I can give to other people, and there's this conflict, which is that the value that I can give to other people is probably quite boring from my perspective, whereas the stuff that I'm drawn to and more interested in, even without realizing it, is the much more complicated stuff, and it's the thing at the end, not all the things on the way to. It's like if you look at my app, it's got like a list of controls, and I instantly I want to go down to the last one because that's the one that I'm most interested in, but it's also the least like is the least likely to be used by most people as well, because they just want a camera that plugs into a thing. So how do you sort of overcome that? Like, feeling like putting yourself in a position where you've got to sort of like restate the obvious from your perspective to loads of people, which will ironically have a lot more value to them and be a lot more magnetic in terms of growing a community, versus like, well, if I could just find a community that was interested in this stuff and actually myself like align with my goals to sort of expand my own experience and understanding of things, then how do you sort of like deal with that balance? Strange how much hiding it looks like you're doing while I'm talking.
Sorry, I'm scribbling and thinking. See, but I think this is the same phenomena that I'm talking about with that, like the I need more people to have. I think for me to rest easy, I need more people to have a particular conversation and change their behaviours in particular ways. And I don't think they're. And there's this like, who am I to be having this conversation element, or what value do I really bring? And then you sort of don't do anything. And I think that the underestimate, if you're always interested in the next thing, you forget the value of it's like teaching that course the other day, or having people read my book and give me feedback on a book that's on. There's so many things I don't say because to me, I think they're already accepted facts, and they're just not. And by helping bringing people into that conversation, you're bringing something to exchange. You absolutely will get something out of it, because even if you're explaining, I don't know, what you camera angles to somebody, which you think is really known stuff, that person might be very creative in something else that might make you think differently. And what your things that you don't value anymore because they're cemented are the presence the gifts that you bring to the conversation that might stimulate something that will help you get, you make more use of that last button. And you're kind of taking the people that you're giving the gifts to on the journey. Say, come with me. I'll tell you all these things. And then we can have a chat about this thing over here because we'll be speaking the same language, which I think is I think that's a positive thing. Doesn't matter that your part of your motivation is to do with getting people to use an app. You're getting them to use the app because the app fundamentally has value. Otherwise, people wouldn't be buying it.
Yeah, like
it solves a problem. It solved a problem for you that you then put out on the internet so other people could solve the same problem.
Yeah. And I resisted like giving it much attention for a year because to me it was such a like throwaway piece of software. And it's the same, isn't it? It's like, yeah, I just did that. And it's really hard to kind of see until you start talking to other people. And I think this all comes back to the more people you can talk to. But it's like how is then the challenge becomes how to start that conversation. What is it? How to speak to them, how to kind of make a YouTube thumbnail that people are going to be like, oh, that describes my problem quite well. I'm going to click on it and like learn something. And then if I keep coming across this creator over and over again, I'm going to maybe start, getting more interested and oh, they've got a Discord. Oh, I could actually talk to this person and X, Y, Z. But it's that thin end of the wedge, isn't it? It's like, and you forget that you need to kind of deal with that first. But then at the same time, like there's literally, I mean, that's a thin end of a wedge, isn't it? My lead magnet, my hierarchy of needs thing. This is the one I'm on. This in the base, and I am like there still. So if I can just remember that conceptually, that it needs to be just such a small thing from your own perspective in order to do something.
Yeah. I think there's not many problems that talking to more people can't solve. Really, I mean, you think about it as being like noise. People, they can be really annoying, frankly. And then you have to deal with trolls and all the people that tell you that you're wrong and all of that jazz. But I think your app it's not like you're trying to flog people fidget spinners or this weird, it's a thing that has utility.
Yeah.
And I think that's I think that's nothing but good, really. It's a modern day hammer.
But you got to remember is like I'm even with all this I'm focused on like how can I sell people squares.tv like more than I'm focused on how can I sell people this app, and maybe if I was just it's this weird thing that I've instantly overcomplicated something to make it align more with what I want out of life, and I don't know. It's still like I can do a lot with this.
I think that's good though, because if it's not something that you want out of life, then why do it? You want to have a more creative community of makers around you, no?
Yes, exactly.
So you're gonna have to make the community.
That's true. I love talking to these people. I love talking to people that are doing something, that are actually taking a bit of a leap, taking a bit of a risk, doing something that they love and care about. And that I think is a very fulfilling way to, and proceed through my 40s, like building up this group of people around me that get, that are just, I just love it when people are interested in something, especially when it's a bit technical or a bit like, just I want to hear about it.
The biggest successes I've had with all my like eco conversations are either standing in my garden doing something and chatting to people that all by go, oh, what are you doing there? Oh, I'm mulching. What's that for? Well, or riding through the village with my recycling in my cart behind my bicycle.
Yeah.
Where are you going, Frank? Oh God, recycling bins are full again. Oh, blah, 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 blah. Don't tell me. Have you tried offering those jars to Mary over there because she likes making a lot of jam? I literally got rid of all 2 or 3 years of collection of jars to one old lady because I don't, I'm like, these have too much utility to put straight in recycling.
You gotta reuse if you can.
And it only happens by being out there.
Yeah.
And it's not, for me, that's like one of the best things I've done all summer was not putting my jars in the bin.
Well, let's run the last clip and then maybe talk, because there's a vulnerability to that, and maybe we can just like unpick why that's scary as well. This is just what I'm hearing constantly, people, and that you may be able to hear in the background, but there's video of it. It should start jackhammering in a minute. Well, Ivanka just said that she had that for days on end, and I'm saying I'm going to be having this for months on end, I think.
God.
Bit annoying, but hey, look, I've got all this space. So yeah, like, what did I do? I think I walked walking. I bought some flowers from M&S the other day, and my temptation, my habit is to try and like conceal all evidence of me being a human being at all, but I was like, oh, well, I haven't got a bag, so I'm just going to walk along with the, and you just feel like you're wearing a flag. Like, look at me. It is like, no one gives a shit. But also, like, it because you're sort of scared that it does create an opening for someone to comment as soon as you're like exhibiting some sort of sign that you care about anything. That there's someone you care about, or there's something you care, and it's always something that my tendency has been to avoid letting anyone out in public see that I actually like Transformers,
or that you're a nice person. Heaven forbid. No.
It's hard because I don't know, like, what is that fear of like someone being able to start a conversation with? Obviously you don't have, you love it. Like, you're like, hey everybody, look, I'm carrying some sticks.
Ask me some stuff. Ask me about my thing.
I need to channel a bit of that, and in a sort of digital way. But yeah, even though I put myself out all the time on streams and then like videos and all these things, but I think I have this terrible tendency of trying to do it in this, even when I try to do it in a kind of generous, like, here is a value thing that I'm trying to do for you, I just, it's really hard to, I don't know, I don't know what is that I can't, I have to kind of have this slight layer of protection that, and I don't know how to identify it, and I don't know how to remove it in a way that you seem to have quite a good knack of doing. But,
well, yeah, I think you just said that. And like my, having a 6-year-old child, she goes around. She hasn't yet developed the fear and the shame and the vulnerability and all of that stuff. She's like, that's not how you do it. She will tell anybody without any, and in her head, she's saving you some time, or she's showing you something she's pleased that she knows. Yeah. And then I listen to her sometimes and I'm like, oh, people aren't going to like that. They're going to be horrible to her because she's telling them, she's bossing them about. And it's like, it is, I think it is about whether or not people are going to like you.
Yeah.
And I think it's, of course it's hard, but I think it's very hard. And just because I'm willing to have conversations with strangers doesn't mean that I'm not sensitive to not being liked, or for people thinking that I'm aggressive or bossy, or who are you to come and tell us what to do and all of that stuff. But I think I've reached a point where the not doing so, I don't want to be quiet. There is too much injustice. And it sounds preachy, but like even things like I've read this article, did I tell you about patriarchy chicken?
No,
I didn't know it was a thing. It's out of date. It's 2019, pre-COVID, and a woman's writing an article about commuting from London to Southampton, and she talks about playing patriarchy chicken, which means walking through, public transport, walking and not getting out of the way for men. It's as simple as that. And she's like, okay, sometimes you get bumped into, but most of the time men will stop stock still in front of you in a like, I don't understand why you're not getting out of my way sort of body language, because they are assuming that everyone should just go, because that's what they've been accustomed to. And I was reminded of this the other day because we were walking to this beach and this guy was walking towards me and I did get out of his way. But he was utterly and totally oblivious to my presence. There is no, so I just talked to Nick and the friend that was with us about it. I was like, "Do you see that? That reminds me of." But I think what I'm doing is playing my own version of patriarchy chicken. It's like the things that are bothering me too much for me to not go, what the fuck is the matter with you? The world is burning and you're still sitting there chucking your fag butts on the beach. Stop it. It's not, but you can't go around doing it. That you got to be a little bit cleverer about it, but I can't not do it. I have to do it now.
I hope no one American was listening to the way Ivanka phrased that, because that was
cigarette butts.
Cigarette ends.
Cigarette ends.
We don't
whatever.
need to say that word anymore in 2021.
Sorry.
So no, it's fine. Cancelled.
Yeah. Anyway.
Ivanka Majic cancelled. No, sorry. No, okay, and that makes me go, oh, poor me. I'm such a confused and conflicted white man with all of my problems. No, hey.
But people, you've got to be out there. You want to have a community of makers around you, creative, brilliant conversations. What is the worst thing that's going to happen? You're not going to get there. You're not going to succeed.
Well, the worst problem in the world is actually apathy in the world. Okay, sorry. Let me rephrase that. Like, hate is not the opposite of love. Apathy is the opposite of love. And actually, like, the most painful, like, all I've done is by not putting myself in a position to be criticized, and if what you do by not putting yourself in a position of vulnerability is you just breed apathy, and then that is so much more oppressive than, once in a while you will get shouted out, or you will get into a fight with some random person and someone won't like you, and it happens, but that's a lot easier to kind of like deal with than just years and years of grind to complete apathy, and you feel like you're putting all this energy into something and no one cares, and that's why you've just got to kind of go, no, okay, I'm just going to risk the hate rather than risk the apathy, because that's by not risking the hate, you're just going to end up with apathy. So.
Yeah, I think the apathy thing. I mean, I like that. I wrote that down. I wrote apathy's death down.
So if you put a sign up in the village that says something very controversial, at least you're not going to get apathy, hopefully. But the sad thing is, you might it might not be enough for all you know to actually get anyone talking. So that's the weird thing about this. Like, you think you're doing something really out there and everyone's going to like immediately flock to it and start talking about it, and actually you'll be like 90% of the time, 50% of the time, I don't know how extreme this thing is, but you'll be like, oh my god, no one even said anything. So, it takes a lot to star your way through life. Like, he did have a talent for that. He does have a talent for that. Just constantly saying things that wind people up so much that they pay him attention.
Good.
So
yes.
Like
apathy. Oh no, do not. Oh, I got a gift. I'll do you a video for next week, but my friend from Alaska brought me a Donald Trump toilet brush.
No, he said it. A toilet brush, though. That's quite good. Of his hair?
Yeah.
Hey.
I'll do it. I think it's quite cool.
God.
But we showed it to the child, like, who is this? And she went, pause. Donald Trump. She didn't know who it was, which I was again. Good, educated 6-year-old.
Excellent. Okay, well, with that toilet brush, we're at 50 minutes. This has been longer than I felt like it was. Let's see, I'm just going to see if pressing this button plays the outro. Let's have a look. Thank you very much for listening to our podcast. If you like it, the overlay's gone. Can I do it? Here's the wrong overlay. This is the wrong one. If you like the podcast, go to grandpodcast.com. You can subscribe there. You can also there's a Twitch link. So if you want to see us live every Friday morning, I am still not entirely sure what time anymore. What time are we doing it? Are we doing it at 10?
10 UK time.
That's the time for the podcast.
That is the time.
I shall move the calendar invite back to 10 and hurry myself up on Fridays again. If you like it, so you can subscribe, and there is a Patreon and all that blah 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 blah. Where can people find you on the internet, Ivanka?
People can find me at Ivanka on Twitter, and then other places. No, that's main place.
Ivanka on Twitter, and you can find me at Michael Forrest on Twitter, and come to squares.tv for some reason.
Do it.
Just come and have a look, because that's where I'm doing all my stuff, so there's going to be stuff happening there. And you can connect this week with your Twitch account or a thing. That'll do, won't it? So I don't know how to make something appear when we're after we've waved goodbye. So I might just let the music swell and then just go straight to the outro and then figure this out next week. So we'll see you next time. Bye 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 bye
bye bye bye.